Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Happy holidays. Yes, sir. Um, I'm officially a graduate from a university. Turn up. I'm gonna use that to, uh, you know, do silly things on the internet. So whenever people ask me, like, "Oh, congratulations! What's your plan?" I'm like, my plan is to do the same shit my plan is to do the same stuff. Excuse me, YouTube gods. My plan is to do the same stuff that I was gonna do before I went to school, which is to do this and see where it takes me. So here I am, seeing where it takes me. It's December 21st, 2023, 9:09 a.m. Central Time. It's 56 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy. It's not that cloudy, but it's not that sunny either. And here we are. We're just out here living life, high on life, like a poltergeist, something like that. Something just like that. And I'm just trying to get this set up right quick. I'm over here talking to ChatGPT this morning, and I'm asking him or her, depending on how you like it, I'm asking how they, for a cool fact from today in history. And on this day, December 21st in 1968, Apollo 8, the second manned spaceflight mission in the U.S. Apollo space program, was launched. It's significant because it's the first time that humans left Earth's orbit, reached the moon, orbited it, and safely returned. The crew, consisting of some cool guys: Frank Borman, James Lovell, William Anders. Man, those are some white guys, huh? Some gosh darn white guys, huh? Became the first humans to see the far side of the moon with their own eyes and to witness the Earth rise, a now iconic image of Earth rising over the moon's horizon. Well, that is actually truly incredible. Could you imagine seeing that with your own eyes? It'd blow your mind away, son. Turn your mind into little bits and pieces. Pew, pew. Seeing the far side of the moon? Gentlemen, we've seen it. The far side of the moon. That's a pretty nutty thing to think about. So 1968, that was 55 years ago. Is that so, Dre? 55 years ago. Wow. That's absolutely nuts. I can't believe it. Yeah. Could you imagine 55 years ago going to the other side of the moon and just seeing the Earth on the other side of the moon? That'd be so scary. Like, all right, let's get back now. The fact that, yeah, we're so far removed from that and haven't gone to the moon in so long that's why people feel like it's fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, I personally don't, just because, like, I mean, I don't know, the Cold War and all that, but we should go back. Let's go to the moon. Let's go to the moon. I'm going to start a petition, and we're going to go to the moon. And it's not just going to be for rich people. We should just have commercial flights out to the moon just to inspire people, This mission set several important milestones in the history of space exploration and paved the way for future Apollo missions, including the historic Apollo 11 moon landing in July 1969. So that was only like 6 months later. Wow. Okay. So then I asked ChatGPT to make a illustration of it with Dolly, and then ChatGPT said that there was an error. But then I asked it again, and it did it. It's interesting because, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff, man. I don't know why the west coast of the U.S. and all the way up to, like, I don't know, the middle of the country and the west coast of Central and South America is, like, on fire. But, the 60s were a crazy time. Everyone was doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So then I wanted to watch this video that seemed kind of fun. It's historical facts that mess with your sense of time. So everyone just lay back, enjoy yourself, and watch this little video with me. Hey.
When we try to put
who created this video? Casual history. Your boy.
Historical events into perspective, we often simplistically divide things into old days and modern times because our brains can often struggle with the perception of time. I compiled a series of interesting facts on historical events that surprisingly took place at more or less the same time, turning them into real and pretty fascinating coincidences, and will make you think twice about how you perceive the past.
I love
Number
thinking
one,
twice.
the same tortoise belonged to both Charles Darwin and Steve Irwin. Harriet the tortoise was reportedly collected by Charles Darwin during his 1835 visit to the Galapagos Islands as part of his round-the-world survey expedition. Then she was transported to England and finally brought to her final home, Australia, by a retiring captain of the Beagle, the ship Darwin used for his expedition. And as we all know, tortoises can live quite a long time. And by a hilarious turn of events, Harriet turned up in Steve Irwin's zoo. That's right, the pet tortoise of Charles Darwin was adopted by the legendary crocodile hunter. However, some doubt was cast on this story by the fact that Darwin had never visited the island that Harriet originally came from. Anyhow, she had an estimated age of 175 by the time she finally died at Steve Irwin's zoo. Her life was an absolute win since Harriet got to meet two historical legends. Number 2. Today's oldest living Harriet got to meet two.
We have to make a decision as humanity, as a society. We need modern myths. And I think a tortoise living to meet Charles Darwin and Steve Irwin is a great modern myth. And we all have to decide as a society whether or not we're going to have myths that go on, you know, as a global society. And whether or not this is true, we're just going to go ahead and say that it is. You know what I'm saying?
Historical legends. Number 2. Today's oldest living tree was already 1,000 years old when the last woolly mammoth died. The world's oldest tree is a Great Basin bristlecone pine located in White Mountains, California, and is dated at around 5,000 years old. To put that into perspective, isolated populations of woolly mammoths on Wrangel Island didn't finally go extinct until 4,000 years ago, with the small island in the Arctic Ocean serving as a sanctuary for the great beasts after they were forced from the mainland by humans and climate change. So you don't have to go back to the Ice Age to meet some mammoth friends. Number 3.
Dude, that's what? Oh, mammoths and the
woolly
Egyptians.
Mammoths and the Egyptians.
Oh, God.
I think this fact is more popular nowadays, but I still want to include it since it's a true classic. As I established earlier, woolly mammoths went extinct about 4,000 years ago when human societies were already around. The oldest of the Great Pyramids in Egypt, the Pyramid of Djoser, was constructed about 1,000 years before they went extinct, meaning that while man was busy building some of the most incredible structures ever made, woolly mammoths were still chilling on some islands. Number 4, Mahatma.
That's incredible. No, that's incredible. 1,000 years before. That's 10 generations of people, like 7, 8 or 9 generations of people. You only know I know 3 generations of my family, and I guess I'll come to know 3 more, so I'll be part of 7, right? That's incredible. Holy.
Ever made, woolly mammoths were still chilling on some islands. Number 4, Mahatma Gandhi and Jack the Ripper. Gandhi is so bound up with the titanic events of the 20th century that it might be peculiar to imagine him as a dapper gentleman of Victorian society. But that's exactly what he became while studying law in London. Arriving in September 1888, right in the midst of the Jack the Ripper killings. Gandhi obviously had nothing to do with the Jack the Ripper killings, but it's funny to think about the fact that Gandhi could have become a suspect in the most famous murder case. Number 5. Nintendo and Jack the Ripper. Even though Jack the Ripper and Nintendo were around about the same time, he never got the chance to play classics like Zelda and Mario. They originally made playing cards called Hanafuda when the company was founded way back in 1889. At the same time, the infamous Jack the Ripper was creating havoc on the streets of London. His murder spree happened only about a year before Nintendo came into existence. Number 6.
All right, hold on. Slow down. Slow your roll there. Just casual. Goodness gracious. That's incredible. Nintendo's a very old company. Nintendo's a family-owned company. But Gandhi, Nintendo, and Jack the Ripper are all happening at the same time. That's a lot to process. I mean, it makes sense. The first industrial revolution was crazy, man. Or was it the second? Whatever it was. I think it was the second. Hey, we definitely all live in a society and a world, right? That's crazy.
6. Star Wars came out the same year as the last guillotine execution in France. When thinking about
What? What did he say? What? No, but for real, that's crazy.
guillotine executions, our minds wander to historic figures like
Dude, this guy's little illustrations are fantastic. The Nintendo Switch with the Jack the Ripper, that's something.
Napoleon. But you didn't have to be that old to get your head chopped off. Star Wars premiered in the United States on May 20th, 1977. At the same time this futuristic sci-fi was wowing audiences around the world, Hamida, the pimp killer, Jandubi, was beheaded for the torture and murder of a young woman. This was the last use of the guillotine in France. Nobody else has been executed using any means since. Considering the timeline, even your own grandpa could have attended this last execution. And maybe he talked with some strangers about the new cool Star Wars movie while watching the execution. Number 7. Prisoners arrived.
My dad was like 18 in 1977. Right? Yeah, my dad was 18 in 1977. He could have been the one getting executed or doing the executing, you know. That, you know, depending on who you ask. That's First of all, I'm starting to talk, and this next fact is prisoners arrived at Auschwitz just days after McDonald's was founded. I'm just going to let the video play, you know? Actually, I don't think I need to hop in right now.
Arrived at Auschwitz just days after McDonald's was founded. While McDonald's is traditionally associated with the good times and affluence of 1950s America, the very first restaurant was opened much earlier, on May 15th, 1940. At the same time, one of the most gruesome events in human history began in Europe. Just 5 days after McDonald's grand opening, the first prisoners arrived at the Auschwitz concentration camp in what is now Poland. Number 8. Oxford University existed.
What the fuck? That's crazy. Well, I guess it's, you know, that's a true testament to, hey, that is a true testament to capitalism, right? Some evil stuff happened. I want to say crazier things, but I can't. But some crazy, awful, terrible, some of the most, you know, whatever, worst atrocities that occurred happened at the same time that a you know, crazy, large, corporate fast food chain was getting founded. And one of them only lasted for so long. The other one is a staple of the American diet and a sponsor of the Olympics. So, you know, peace through burgers and money.
For hundreds of years before the Aztec Empire was founded. The Aztec Empire began as an alliance hundreds of years in what is now Poland.
Hold on.
Number 8. Oxford University existed for hundreds of years before the Aztec Empire was founded. The Aztec Empire began as an alliance of 3 city-states. These 3 city-states ruled the area in and around the Valley of Mexico from 1428. This came to an end when the combined forces of the Spanish conquistadors and their native allies under Hernan Cortez defeated them in 1521. Aztec culture had rich and complex mythological and religious traditions, as well as achieving remarkable architectural and artistic artistic accomplishments. Meanwhile, in England, Oxford University was already well established. It has no known date of foundation, but there is evidence of teaching as far back as 1096, making it the oldest university in the English-speaking world and the world's second oldest university in continuous operation. It grew rapidly from 1167, when Henry II banned English students from attending the University of Paris. So part of why Oxford is so famous today is because Henry pulled a clever marketing move. Number 9, ecstasy.
Man, this guy's giving you a lot to think about. Giving me a lot to think about. You don't really have to think about it. That's kind of what I'm supposed to do. I'm streaming. But, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. I guess, yeah, you don't really realize, maybe I'm just being an idiot, but you don't really realize that feudal Europe was happening, and there was, like the Aztec Empire and all that stuff was happening. Yeah, I mean, you understand that, but then, it's at the same time, to think of Oxford, a university that's still going. Wow. Crazy stuff, man. It just makes you think of how temporary everything is, That's great.
It was invented the same year the Titanic sank. The unsinkable Titanic sank in 1912, going down in the North Atlantic Ocean 4 days into the ship's maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City. In the same year, pharmaceutical giant Merck was interested in developing substances that stopped abnormal bleeding. One of their chemists, Anton Kolisch, synthesized MDMA to avoid a patent by German rival Bayer. It wasn't until 1975 that psychoactive effects of the drug began to be taken seriously, and recreational use spread thereafter through personal networks of psychotherapists, psychiatrists, users of psychedelics, and yuppies. So, yes, everyone who died on the Titanic, users of psychedelics.
I don't like that depiction of users of psychedelics, just so we're all clear. That is not what psychedelic users typically look like. Carry on.
Yuppies. So, yes, everyone who died on the Titanic never got the chance to taste this drug. By the way, ecstasy raised one's body temperature, so if it had been invented earlier, it might explain why the captain was so desperate to ram an iceberg. Number 10. Microsoft was founded while Spain was still a fascist dictatorship. A highly controversial figure within Spain, Franco is seen as a divisive leader. Supporters...
I was just reading about the Spanish Civil War and Francoist Spain. Francoista. I don't know. And if you've been to Europe, and if you've been to... I haven't been to Spain, but I've had plenty of friends who've had, and I've been to Europe, and I've been around Spain. Yeah, what it's about to say, but I didn't realize how brutal and intense and recent the Civil War was, because I was, scary. Human history is so scary. It's cool, but it's so scary. We do crazy things to each other all the time, and I didn't why.
Credit his strong anti-communist and nationalist views, economic policies, preservation of traditional Spanish practices, and support of the monarchy of Spain as positive influences over the nation. Critics disparage him as an autocratic dictator who violently suppressed opposition and dissent, banned culture seen as non-Spanish, and provided much support to the Axis powers during World War II. Franco ruled Spain as a fascist state up until his death in 1975. This was the same year that Microsoft was founded by Paul Allen and Bill Gates, and the beginning of a new era in
It's a nice little cribbo, Bill.
Computer technology.
Number
11.
There.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was published the same year the first iPhone was released. The seventh and last book in the Harry Potter series was released in 2000.
It's not that crazy. You can't end on that, brother.
7. Ending the series that began in 1997 with the publication of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. That same year,
Damn, I wasn't even born. I wasn't even born when Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone came out, and I haven't read him, and I don't plan to.
came along
Come
that
at
has probably
me.
done more to kill children's interest in reading more than anything else. The first iPhone model. Considering that the first iPhone seems like a vintage phone now, it's impressive how fast time goes by. But that is it for today.
Oh my
Thank you
god, the
so much
top
for
button.
watching. This was just
The top button. Oh, dude, this guy has all sorts of great videos for me to watch. Historical events with unexpected consequences. I'm definitely gonna watch this. Let's see here. I got about 30 more minutes. I'm gonna watch part of this. We're gonna scroll to the best parts. No.
A minor mistake like making a wrong turn had such an impact on the future. Franz Ferdinand was heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne and visited the capital of
All right, we'll watch this another time. I gotta be honest. We don't have time right now, okay? But these are great videos. Nice and short, less than 10 minutes. Yeah, history is amazing, dude. History is LinkedIn as hell. I would love to watch that video too, because listen, LinkedIn is terrible. And all you people with corporate jobs and I've been on LinkedIn and I have LinkedIn, and some people know how to really hustle it. Some people make good bread being connected on LinkedIn. I personally think it's like this guy said, it's a hellscape. It's terrible. It's all of the insincerity of corporate life combined with the weird rat race culture that we have in America that culminates in this just weird, insincere, high pressure environment that everyone's like, I love my cybersecurity attachment that goes into your fucking Netflix. Yeah, I lost it, guys. I didn't have a Celsius this morning, so my technology up in my head, it's not working right now. My brain technology is misfiring. So since this is the Mitch Wayne Power Hour, we're going to talk a little bit about some human-computer interaction history now, all right? Because on this day in history, a cool HCI-related fact is that on December 21st, 1970, the University of Utah, a leading center for computer graphics research, which I didn't know that. Shout out Utah. I had a layover in Utah one time. Utah's pretty beautiful. Shout out the Mormons, and shout out, I don't really know much else about Utah. The mountains. Good morning. Mountains and Mormons, pretty much. That's what they got out there as far as I know. University of Utah became one of the 4 original nodes of ARPANET, the precursor of the modern internet. There we go with ARPANET again. ARPANET. This connection was significant for the field of HCI as it facilitated the sharing and development of graphical interfaces and interactive computing techniques. University of Utah Science Department, under the leadership of Dr. Ivan Sutherland, who we're going to talk about in a second, who's renowned for his pioneering work in computer graphics, played a crucial role in advancing the field. Sutherland's work, including the invention of the sketchpad in 1963. Again, the 60s and early 70s were a crazy time in America. A lot of innovation going on. Isn't it interesting that was also the time, well, a little bit before, but when the CIA was just out here I gotta stop cussing. The CIA was out here mother flipping dosing people, fam. That's crazy. And then we were coming up with all this crazy technology and all this sort of stuff. It makes you think. Just makes you think what is and what could be. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe you don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. Sometimes that's where how do you run society? how do you get society, how do you take society and just run it, you know? How do you make it happen without it falling apart at the seams? Because I love the good old US of A, and it feels like we've like got a little bit too much undirected chaos. I'm a big fan of chaos, but it's just undirected, you know what I'm saying? And it seemed like, I don't know, but the 60s and 70s were a crazy time too. You know, we're talking civil rights, we're talking post-World War II, we're talking all sorts of different movements are going on. And at the same time, all of these, you know, the Apollo missions are happening, the like beginnings, like the foundation for modern technology is happening. Pretty crazy stuff. Makes you just ponder about, you know, everyone thinks the whole world is falling apart today, and it is kind of scary, but it's also just more in your face. And I'm not the first person to think of that, but it's great to just get a little bit of perspective, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, the Sketchpad, blah, 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 University of Utah. University's connection to ARPANET allowed for greater collaboration and exchange of ideas, which significantly propelled forward the development of graphical user interfaces and interactive computing, which are both critical components of HCI. Yes, they are. Emphasizing the importance of networked computers in the development and dissemination of concept. Yeah. So then I asked little Chat Jerry to make me a depiction of this, and I think that's pretty cool, don't you? It looks like a little bit of an embryo, you know what I'm saying? The birth of the internet. That's pretty dope. But yeah, networking, connected computing, absolutely insane. I wonder if we can find a video of this. University of Utah ARPANET. ARPANET 50th celebration. 1 minute and 53 seconds. All the rest of the ARPANET for. Let's see what this is. Football, soccer. Just kidding. Dude, that is a cool campus. I don't know why more people don't go to the University of Utah. It's kind of loud, guys. Hi. So you got UCLA, UCSB, SRI. I don't know what that is. I'm probably showing my ignorance, but Stanford Research Institute, and then Utah. Pretty random for Utah to be a part of it.
In December of 1969, Utah became the first node on what they called ARPANET, which is this scalable general architecture for networking computers across long distances.
Not the snack.
Very proud.
The snack montage. It looks pretty good. Yeah, we got some, you know, some little orange juice water, some crab dip, some berry lemon water. You know, we got the dessert tray, little red velvet mashup, some various breads and cheesecakes. We got it. Let's talk about ARPANET,
Very
though.
proud of the U's legacy in computing. And computing will continue to improve productivity and the quality of life as it has done over the past 50 years.
Dude, stop with the food, the meatballs and the...
It is a remarkable thing that this is part of the University of Utah legacy, and one that we're so proud of.
One of the things that we are investing
I feel
heavily
like
in
this
is
video guy was like cousins with the caterer or something.
educating
So
the-
it was like a 2-for-1. They're like, look, you give me a catering video and you give me an ARPANET video.
next generation of power.
Bro, what is
We
this?
celebrate the incredible advancements that we've made over the past 50 years, that we look cautiously but with hope to the next 50 years. Thank you so much for what you've done to make Utah a better place. Congratulations and good luck on the next 50.
Politicians are so insincere. This just pissed me off. This, why you wouldn't last 24 hours in the dark ages. Oh, God. That video pissed me off. I wanted a lot more than that. So we're going to talk about Ivan Sutherland. Mr. Sutherland was born in 1938. You know, it's interesting when we're talking about all these people, and we're seeing that a lot of this interesting genius is happening in this time period of the late 60s to the early 70s. And, you know, you talk about time and place. This guy got his bachelor's from Carnegie Institute of Technology, because when he was younger, he was from Illinois, then New York, and then he goes to Caltech, and then he goes to MIT in the 60s. He gets his PhD from MIT in the 60s. What a guy. Immigrant parents, New Zealand, Scotland. Invented the sketchpad in 1962 while at MIT. So this guy's a really smart guy. He's still with us. 85. He was born in Nebraska. Computer graphics is just like incredible. The fact that we can just go and click on screens and tap our phones and things happen. You know, it works. It works, Jerry. It works. It's incredible. And then now we have this ChatGPT where we can just ask it whatever we want, and it tells us things, and it's, you know, not always right. It lies to us, but that's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just, what did I just, oh, there it is. I just put my mouse over something and DARPA just shows up. They're coming for me. DARPA's here. Da-na-na-na. Da-da-da. I don't even remember what I was saying, but we can just click and scroll and ask ChatGPT questions, and we're going into this AI world where everything can just be fake. Everything can be fake and just to your liking. Isn't that crazy? What if, you know, it's possible that I'm not real, none of this is real, we're all just curating. Everything's curating. Lots of curation. So, this guy's just a genius guy. He invented the sketchpad, and we could draw on computers. After he received his PhD, he served in the U.S. Army from 1963 to 1965, commissioning as an officer through ROTC at Carnegie. Wow. Sutherland replaced J.C.R. Licklider as the head of the U.S. Defense Department Advanced Research prior to ARPA, Information Processing Techniques Office, when Licklider took a job at IBM in 1964. Is that still going on? Or I guess I don't know. It seems like the military-industrial complex isn't, you know, I feel like it's not as whatever. You've got Anduril, whatever it's called, with Lucky Palmer. That's a dope company. Even just pulling up their website gets me going, man. Gets me going. Listen, war's not good at all. But to prevent war, having modernized systems and prevention techniques is highly, highly crucial. But dude, these people are making just the cutting edge of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to like, no, we're not going to do all this. We're not going to promote too much of the military industrial complex, bro. Careers. Join us in creating the future of defense. I like dope engineering. The future of air defense must be smarter, more affordable, and reusable. U.S. troops have been attacked a staggering 73 times in recent weeks due to a surge in low-cost, mass-produced drones that have given adversaries the upper hand. This was at the beginning of this month? Oh, goodness. As we prepare for future threats to be more numerous and faster moving than defenders can manage. This makes me, now that I need to read this book. Where's this book? Yes. Can I reach over here? I'm going to read this book. Anyways, I will talk about this book in a second. Time of the essence when agile drones and missiles are inbound. 73 times U.S. troops have been attacked. Air defenders should be able to scramble their own effectors too. Defeat capabilities will continue to play. Dude, there's this other book. Hold on. Recoverability is a particularly important evolutionary step in delivering such a solution, and the story of SpaceX illustrates why. Come on, bro. I love capitalism. I'm going to say it. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism. I think it's the most innovative force in... I don't like late-stage capitalism. Late-stage capitalism is incredibly dystopian and weird, and it makes me feel like a dead slave sometimes. But I love just some good old American ingenuity, man. I love chaos, and I love how it makes people come up with dope stuff. But not so long ago, from the early 2000s till about 2014, the United States was reliant on Russia to supply rocket engines to launch satellites into space. But reusable rockets and the disruptive business model of SpaceX helped ignite a dynamic and competitive industry that not only reduced the cost of accessing space, but transformed the U.S. into a world leader in commercial launch services. In fact, we have significantly outpaced China's growth in space launches and satellites since 2018. The space race is now space chase, and as the DoD invests even more, this is good. I like hearing some positive propaganda. I don't really care whether it's all propaganda, but I'm an American, brother. I want America to be the good guys, because America has its flaws, but it has a much better chance at reflecting the values of the rest of the world than most other countries do, because of our diversity. Yay. So yeah, shout out Ivan Sutherland and shout out University of Utah ARPANET for making us one step closer to the interconnected world we now live in today. And, you know, I think so often we it's easy to sit and criticize the world that we live in, and I think, you know, our lives have maybe become too technologically influenced or too this or that. And it's important to remember that, you know, we are evolving, and nothing is ever stationary, so humans are always trying to improve and create and make things better. And in that process, it's good to just be grateful and be like, wow, holy cow, man. Holy crap-a-doodle, right? I can order food on my phone at any time, and, you know, not everyone can, and there's all sorts of different... You know what? Screw that. Yeah. You can order food at any point in time. Most people, even... I see homeless people with phones all the time. And I'm like... You can figure something... Like, if you have a phone and you're connected into society, you can figure some things out. And be a little bit more part of... Yeah, I don't know. There's this... It is so interesting, right? As the information gap, as more information became available, it seems like the gap between have and have not and will not be is continuing to increase. So decide what side you want to be on. This book, I hope it's not like it's a cool book. It's called Rainbow's End by Werner Vinge, and I'll just read the back of the book because it was cool. I found out about it on Twitter during COVID. Oh my god, I dropped the book. And there's another book that I want to look up to. Oh my god, I dropped the book. Dimensions of a Cave. Alright. First, we're going to talk about this book. I'm going to read the back of it. I found it during COVID on Twitter from some smart people. A novel with one foot in the future. World-famous poet Robert Gu missed 20 years of progress while he nearly died from Alzheimer's. Now, when he awakens in San Diego in the year 2025 with his mind and health restored, reality is a shock. Books are just about gone. Computers are old news, replaced by quote-unquote smart contact lenses that connect him to the internet via his clothes and wireless nodes just about everywhere. Buildings look low rent unless you're wearing... Oh, buildings look low rent unless you're wearing. Then they look like whatever you want. Even he is different. He's 75, but his treatment has made him look almost like a teen. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in the new digital age. As Gu tries to catch up with his future, a mysterious stranger draws him and other innocents into a conspiracy that could have disastrous consequences. Before he knows it, he's in so deep that even his high-ranking military son and daughter-in-law are clueless. His only hope, the world's only hope, is that his 13-year-old granddaughter Miri and her secret friend Mr. Rabbit might be able to keep the worst from happening. I don't remember that actually being the concept at all. But when was this book written again? Or published. Excuse me while I find out while this book was published. Friends and Family. 2006. So this book was published in 2006. And it talks about a virus that comes out of a lab in Wuhan. Excuse me. I don't know what happened. I'm just saying it talks about a virus that comes out of Wuhan. And there's a lab there. But that lab has been there, so it's not that crazy. And then... it's like it's more of just like this interesting thing with the future of warfare and how like, you know, mass like World War conflict is kind of done, but like proxy warfare. And I think like part of the plot, I haven't gotten that far, obviously. I can read things now again that's the worst thing about being in schools. You can't learn stuff that you want to learn just for fun. You have to just be all whatever school tells you to focus on, which isn't the most fun thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Did we get... Hold on. Are we still live here? Oh, yeah, we are. We are. But yeah, the book is interesting. I'm going to continue to read it, but it's about, there's a terrorist group that gets a hold of nuclear weapons, and they're holding, different cities, hostage, whatever. And then this other book that, I think, what's his name? Tim Dillon said that he was reading that sounded really interesting. I didn't realize that it's a thriller, but it talks about the future of warfare and how a virtuoso journey into networks of power, our embroilment with new technologies, and the dangers of corruptions by an electrifying debut novelist. I don't know, dude. Sounds cool to me. Kind of scatterbrained, but we'll get there. We will get there, man. Oh, is it kind of like this? See, I like fiction that kind of, scratches a little bit into reality, and I like the kind of fiction that makes you go like, well, that's not that far off from what could happen. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that said a virus locking down most of the world would never happen, and got news for you. That happened. Yeah. So, we've gotten off on a different foot. The military-industrial complex is real. Is real. The world is in a crazy, crazy place. Well, actually, I don't know. That's kind of the thing that I was talking about with what was happening in the 60s and early 70s is like, I think this is so often I have an argument with people that are, maybe of my like parents' generation, the Gen Xers and the Boomers of like, everything's gone to hell in a handbasket, Mitchell. And to that I say, and I've always said, there are certain things that are new problems, right? Like I think this like pretty rampant homelessness and lack of problem solving capability when it comes to that, and corruption with our politicians, those kind of things. Those are all very real, and kind of like the shadow game we play. We all are supposed to nod along, and whatever political side you're on, there are things that you disagree with at your core that you still kind of don't speak out against for whatever reason. Hey, I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's real on both sides. Maybe that's why you shouldn't pick a side, but that's neither here nor there. But I just think that chaos is good. Chaos breeds innovation. Chaos can make or break people. Diamonds are formed under pressure, sweet one. So I say the more pressure, the better. That's the whole kind of point of America, right? It's the whole melting pot thing and culture clash and all that stuff. And I say that we embrace it and we compete and enjoy the competition and don't, freak out about it. Because I find myself all the time thinking of, where are we going? What's the world really going to look like when my kids or my grandkids are out here roaming around? And I think it's going to be pretty dope, if I got to say so myself. So that's that. I guess we could let's watch a little bit of this. You know what? Yeah, on that note, we're going to watch this video, Why You Wouldn't Last 24 Hours in the Dark Ages, to make us a little bit grateful that we're not alive in a different time period.
People look at the Middle Ages through romantic eyes. They think about armored knights on lumbering steeds, beautiful damsels in pointy hats, dragons, chivalry, and courtly love. Nothing.
I personally don't think about those things. I mean, I kind of do. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to be what in different time periods, what the cool things to be would be. So a knight would be kind of dope, but I also think about just most of your children dying and most people dying from just a little cut that turns into gangrene. I don't know.
Could be further from the truth. For most people, the Middle Ages were dirty, difficult, and really quite dangerous. Let's find out now why it was unlikely that you could stay alive and prosper, and why you were likely to die quite quickly during that time. Welcome to Medieval Madness.
It's really crazy that we're all just descendants of people that were alive and just kept living. It's pretty nuts.
Communication, or the lack of it. Let's just suppose you suddenly arrived in medieval England, that there was some sort of time slip and now you were stranded in the middle of the 14th century. The first thing you would realize is that you wouldn't understand a damn thing anybody was saying.
It's really uncomfortable.
The ordinary people spoke Middle English, the posh people spoke French, and the clergy spoke Church Latin. Speaking only modern English, you might be able to understand the odd word, but an intelligible conversation with anybody is impossible at this point. A woman's worth. So
Oh,
now
no.
supposing you had picked up a little bit of the language, but you were unlucky enough to be a woman, then you would know all about hardship. Because of the importance placed on biblical text, medieval women were usually regarded as morally weak, meaning they were oppressed and treated as subservient. In particular, the writings of St. Paul highlighted men's authority over women and their need to stay silent in church and under the control of their husbands. For the peasant woman, work was gendered and she was responsible for the household chores. Not only spinning, brewing, cooking, weaving, and taking care of livestock and children, but also sharing the labor of the farm and fieldwork with the men. Women were expected to marry or become a nun. It is the first option that awaited the majority of women. Marriage meant pregnancy, and that meant childbirth. There was no modern pain relief or sterile hospital setting. Complications that we now
He's saying a lot of things besides this last part about the medicine thing, but like doing housework and whatever, that I'm like, that's like still pretty much what it is. Besides, I mean, like, women have a better choice now if they don't want to do that, but it's still like what a lot of women do. Besides have, like, now they just have way better medicine.
considered to be inconsequential could prove fatal for the medieval mother and child.
That is a pregnant woman.
Status didn't guarantee a safe birth, and a caesarean section was only performed if the mother was dying or already dead. In 1420s Florence, for example, 1 in 5 women died during labor.
Oh my God, 1 in 5 women died during labor. What percentage of women? I'm typing with one hand. 32.9 per 100,000. What is that? This is in the world. It's still pretty high, though, I feel like. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you can look that up.
Childbirth was so prevalent that women were
1
urged
in
to write
5
out
is
a
nuts.
last will and testament long before giving birth, which kind of takes the shine off what should have been a joyous event.
Wow.
Early life, early death. Today we consider the death of a child to be rare or unexpected, but if you were born in the Middle Ages, you would be lucky to make it even past your 5th birthday, as the child mortality rate was so high, and 1/3 of children died before that age in medieval England. And the dangers would start whilst you were still in the womb. Unaware of the risks of alcohol-fetal syndrome, medieval women would have been blissfully knocking back huge quantities of ale or wine, or both throughout their pregnancy.
Good God.
And don't get me started on their nutrition. The death of a child is one of the most awful tragedies that anyone can imagine. In medieval Europe, the mortality rate was thought to lie somewhere between 20 to 30% dying under the age of 7, depending on the year. That's children dying from incidents during birth, accidents, or because of war or famine and disease. Deadly illnesses included whooping cough, measles, influenza, and stomach infections, sicknesses that can easily be...
Bro, you know how people today are like, I don't know if I want to have kids because of climate change or all this difference. Like, we have such easy lives, for real. Like, our lives are so easy. At least in modern America, our lives are so easy, and we just are like, oh, I don't know if I'll have kids for this or that. Meanwhile, there's countries in the world today that are like basically in a dark age, like, yeah.
...be treated today. And the grief was the same for parents living thousands of miles away. In medieval Japan, 48% of the population died as children. 48% is practically...
So the whole world was like that's the crazy thing too. The whole world was kind of in a dark age at the same time. That's scary.
Practically 1 in every 2 children dying. Who are you calling a peasant? The problem with living in the Middle Ages was that 85% of the population were serfs, so you would have been more likely to be part of that group than not. Tied to the lord and his land, not only would you have to grow food to sustain yourself and your family, but you would also have to make sure that there was enough to pay the lord his due too. You couldn't leave the land without your lord's permission or even get married. You may as well have been a slave. You would have been always reliant on the weather. Too much rain or not enough could be a catastrophe and cause the failure of crops, which led to malnutrition and, in the worst cases, starvation. Malnutrition meant a weakened immune system, and that led to an upturn in diseases like dysentery, typhus, and smallpox. Food, when it was available, consisted of coarse bread made with barley, oats, rye, or millet, and a thin stew known as pottage. Medieval Europe was teeming with wild game like rabbit, hare, deer, and boar, but these were for the nobility to hunt, not for the lower classes, and the penalty for poaching was usually pretty harsh.
There's a penalty for poaching in medieval Europe? Are you kidding me? We're starving out here, fam. What do you mean, bro? See, this is why I know I'm a 21st century American. I'm like, bro, if so, you're gonna have to kill me now. You're gonna have to kill me over this rabbit, because I'm trying to put this rabbit in my stew, and you just ate. You just doing this for fun. I'm trying to eat, fam. Are you serious right now?
Clothing wasn't the comfiest, being made from itchy wool. Houses weren't exactly palatial either. Most had just one room or two rooms with no chimney and perhaps one or two small windows. They were dark, smoky, smelly, and unsanitary because they were often shared with animals, especially in the winter when conditions outdoors were harsh. With no central heating, lighting, or running water, is it any wonder that medieval lives were so short? The average life expectancy for most men in the 140 years between 1330 and 1479 was just 24 years. Women came out better with an average of 33 years, but still not great.
Average of 30 years, huh?
The justice system. Medieval crime and their punishments were really different from today as well, because the church controlled just about every aspect of life, from what you wore to what you could eat and when. So, no nipping out to McDonald's in your long pointy shoes on a Sunday morning for your McMuffin breakfast. If you were the victim of a crime, there were no police. You just had to scream loudly to raise a hue and a cry and hope for the best. For serious crimes, death was the punishment, and these didn't just include murder or treason. Forgery, arson, receiving stolen goods.
Dude, this feels like we're going, like, some parts of America are going back to the dark ages. Like, no police structure, just putting people to death, calling out for help.
Goods, robbery, and burglary were all
goodness
punishable by hanging.
gracious.
In fact, stealing anything worth over 12 pence, the equivalent of about 3 weeks' wages, meant a trip to the gibbet. Early in the period, trial by ordeal was a thing. Here, the guilt or innocence of the accused was determined by subjecting the suspect to a painful and often deadly experience, such as walking over red-hot coals or plunging your hand into boiling water or oil. If you were innocent, God would perform a miracle and save you. Petty crimes like being in debt, gambling, playing football, or using abusive language in the street were also dealt with quite harshly, with punishments ranging from public humiliation in the stocks or pillory to branding or imprisonment. Many people died in prison because of the unsanitary conditions and lack of decent food. Most crime was linked to theft because of poverty, so there was a lot of it about. War, what it isn't good for. The list of wars throughout the world during the 1,000-year period of the Middle Ages is insane. In total, there were over 370 wars across many empires, with the last one, the Italian War, finishing in 1504. Many were fought to see which incompetent was going to sit on the throne next as king or queen, and others were contested for what were thought to be noble reasons, such as the Crusades. But then, as it is today, it was the common people who were left to pay the ultimate price. As a serf, and because of the European feudal system, if you lived in the kingdom of one of two rich people who wanted to have a go at each other, then you would be obligated to fight. Peasants had to supply military service to their liege lord on a regular basis. Men were only sent away for short periods of time, so if you were lucky enough not to die in the first 40 days, you could return home. This was because if everyone went off to war at the same time, then there would be no one to take care of the nobles. No labor meant no crops and no money for all the wealthy people to spend on silly wars. The result was a medieval military that was for the most part disorganized, resulting in a lot of dead people. And the noblemen didn't evade death either. Around 30% of them died in one skirmish or another. As for the commoners, no one really knows the victim numbers. They were thought to be so insignificant that nobody ever kept a tally. We can only estimate the casualties from medieval wars, both soldiers and the innocent bystanders caught up in the conflict. During the First Crusade at the Siege of Jerusalem, 90,000 people died. In all, during the Crusade years from 1095 until the end of the 13th century, there were between 1 to 3 million deaths. The 100 Years' War fought between 1330.
I'm silent because I'm just taking this in, and the life was awful. I'm just thinking about the fact that everyone alive now had a relative that went through some sort of medieval period, and I'm like, God, what is wrong with us?
7 and 1453 produced between 2 and 3.5 million fatalities. And in Asia, the Mongol invasions and conquests that took place during the 13th and 14th centuries ended with the loss of between 30 and 40 million lives. It really wasn't a good time to be a soldier or a peasant.
My God.
Poison. Let's suppose that you happen to be rich during the Middle Ages and able to afford the finer things in life. Would that have made your chances of survival better? You would definitely have eaten better than the peasants with their bread and pottage. For you, the table would be laden with meats such as veal, venison, or peacock in rich cream sauces, followed by sugar desserts and fine wine. You would eat your gourmet food from beautifully glazed plates and drink from delicately decorated cups. The problem was that the glazing was made from lead oxide. Yes, it looked lovely and it was practical for cleaning, making it very popular among those who were privileged enough to be able to afford it. But when salty or acidic food was served on glazed plates or kept in glazed pots, it caused the coating to dissolve and the lead was absorbed into the food. Lead is a poisonous heavy metal which collects in the human body over time. Acute poisoning can attack the nervous system and cause headaches, abdominal pain, and infertility. Chronic poisoning may lead to seizures, coma, and death. Because children are still growing, the effects on them can be devastating and affect their ability to learn. Medieval skeletons from cemeteries in more affluent urban areas of Germany and Denmark have shown that people had lead levels well above normal. Lead was also present in stained glass windows, coins, and on roof tiles. Rainwater was often collected from roofs for drinking, and this could have been another source of the poison. Bread was the main food staple for the medievals. Often the rye used to make bread would become infected with a fungus called Claviceps purpurea. This caused an infection in humans which was called St. Anthony's fire. There were many outbreaks throughout the Middle Ages which caused tens of thousands of people to die and millions more to become sick. What we now know as ergot poisoning caused hallucinations, muscle cramps, nausea, insomnia, and sores. In extreme cases, when left untreated, the blood flow to an infected person's hands and feet is restricted, causing burning pains. Gangrene can set in and fingers, toes, hands and feet can turn black and drop off. Some historians believe it is ergot poisoning that is responsible for some of the dancing epidemics that occurred between the 14th and 17th centuries. These epidemics involved groups of people, sometimes thousands at a time, dancing erratically in the streets until they collapsed from exhaustion and or injury.
Dude, that is so terrifying. Oh my God.
Thank you for watching this episode of Medieval Madness. Please subscribe if you enjoy these videos, and I'll see you next week for another one.
Guys. Oh my. Oh my. I would be terrified if I walked outside and everyone was just dancing. If everyone was just like... My shorts just whatever. But if everyone's just like, oh, hey, what? It would be like, at first I'd be like, this is dope. What's up? What are we doing? We turning up today. And then I would be like, oh God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And then if everyone just fell out from exhaustion, good God. Everyone call someone you love today and tell them that we are blessed to live in the time that we live in. Call someone. Yeah, I can just say that. I'm streaming right now. Oh my God. Thank God we are not born in the dark ages. Alright. Well, yeah. This day in history, Apollo 8 happened. We went around. We went to the other side of the moon. The University of Utah connected into ARPANET and made some things connect and click. And what's his name? Ivan Sutherland played a big role in it. And That happened in 1970, December 21st. So we got a lot of crazy things going on. It's actually very interesting that these things happen 2 years apart. So yeah, lots of things going on. Go innovate. Go do something interesting. Go read a book. Go write a book. Read a book and write a book. Don't do that though. No one really, like, you can, but I feel like there's more high impact ways to do stuff now. All right. Peace, love, and blessings. Happy holidays.